Welcome one and all to the Ferret and Raccoon podcast, episode 210. I'm the Indigenous Owl.
And I'm the Angry Raccoon, bringing you the first podcast of February 2023. And boy, this year is going pretty damn fast for the most part. We are already at February.
Yeah.
It feels like just yesterday it was December.
That's true.
And yeah, things are not slowing down. News is... well, not necessarily on this episode, as you can tell by the very, very short length. Everywhere else in the world, it is all kicking off with literally everything, everywhere, all at once, to some extent.
Like the film.
Like the film, which I think we all do recommend. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm joined by good friend Owl on this episode. I had to bring her in for this very difficult and challenging one.
Yeah, I mean, it's jam-packed, this podcast. It's going to take us at least 2 hours.
2 hours, 2 hours max.
Yeah.
But yeah, what have you been up to over the last, since last year, I guess? Because Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year as well, yeah. Pretty much, so when the last time we met, I bought the copy Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Mm-hmm. So, I'm pretty much almost near completing the first game. I played the first original game over the Christmas break and 120%ed the game, so I thought, you know what, I really was interested in getting back into Spyro series again, so I just bought the Reignited Trilogy and replayed it, and I'm really enjoying it. I've got to say, I love the graphics are amazing as it is already, but there's certain things that I prefer more about the original game, like the sound design. I feel like the soundtrack is much better in the original game than, even though it's the same songs, I know, but it's just, I feel like the instruments are much more stronger in the original soundtrack rather than the Reignited Trilogy. And then I started watching a series called King of the Hill that came out in 1997, which is an American animated sitcom created by Mike Judge and Gray Daniels, who also worked on Beavis and Butthead. It's set in Texas and follows the life of the salesman Hank Hill, who lives with his wife, who's substitute teacher Peggy, and son Bobby, with their pet dog and stuff. And then they have their neighbours, who is Bill, who's like a divorced military barber and former high school star, then Dale, who's like a paranoid conspiracist, and Jeff Boomhauer, a charismatic, soft-spoken, unintelligible bachelor. And what I mean by unintelligible, when he talks in some next dialect that you really have to watch the series to understand what he's saying. But it's really funny. But the show has a realistic approach and seeks humor and mundane aspects of life, such as blue collar workers, substitute teachers, the trials of puberty, and political correctness and stuff. But it's a really, really funny show. I actually discovered this show on YouTube, and I just watched a random cutscene. And I thought, yeah, I'm really hooked on the show. I want to watch it. So I bought the DVD, and I thought, yeah, I'm really loving this show. It
is a classic show.
Yeah,
it is. To some extent, it's kind of underrated how good it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I think it's good that you kind of talk about how just it kind of mimics the mundane. Even the opening of itself just kind of perfectly just, depicts this very bleak but kind of hilarious aspect of their lives. It's just they're just standing there, just doing nothing.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, because that's one that I actually kind of do, much like you, need to actually put the DVDs on my shelf, because I think it's one of those shows you can both sit there and watch and then just kind of have it in the background as well.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
But I think Hank Hill is a classic character. just him saying Barbie.
Yeah, it's actually true.
But is that it for
yeah, that's it for the most part.
Okay, so I still been kind of doing a bit of things over the last couple of weeks or so. I was kind of affected a lot by certain things that were kind of out of my control, so I had to do a bit of house sitting. I was also kind of affected by some of the strikes that happened over the last few weeks, which kind of really messed up my routine to some extent. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I managed to watch the Netflix series Wednesday, which is the series based on the Addams Family character, and it's good. It's good. It's not amazing. It's not brilliant. It's not as good as people say it is, but I enjoyed it. It has some really strong elements that I think really hold the series and kind of kept me watching, mainly the characters. I think everyone has played pretty well, and their likability and just their kind of relationship, not so much the teen drama, love triangle stuff, but more just how they introduct with people. For example, one of the most obvious contrasts being Wednesday and her roommate Enif, who is this very kind of poppy, kind of very colourful, gossip kind of girl who's, Wednesday Addams' roommate, and they have a, very obvious, nice contrast. Literally, when they first meet in the first episode, Enif goes to hug Wednesday. She kind of like just steps back and she's like, oh, not a hugger. Okay, I got it. And their relationship develops in a really funny and great way because Enif actually calls her out on her bullshit, which is nice.
Oh, that's
good. She straight up just says, you can't be acting like this. You can't be, as Wednesday is, in some sense, she's very selfish. She only kind of thinks about herself. And, lots of other characters do that. And that's something I really do like about the character. It's kind of like a deconstruction of her, but at the same time, it kind of promotes the things we like about her.
Yeah.
She doesn't care what people think about her, and she's very tenacious. She's going to do this no matter what. And that's why we like the character. And I think the series is at its best when it's kind of about her and kind of how she's interacting with these people. And it's well written to some extent. The major part I didn't really like about the series was kind of the ending. It kind of felt very, without spoiling anything, modern movie finale.
Oh, okay.
In some sense. It could have done without that, and it could have done with something a little bit more clever and interesting.
Sure.
But I would recommend it. It is pretty much like My First Murder Mystery to some extent.
Oh, okay.
Which is fine. But I think that's why a lot of children kind of really like this show, despite the fact they shouldn't be watching it. But I'm interested to see what the season 2 is going to bring. Usually with shows that get this popular, it's either going to be they're going to try something completely different and do something new and basically tell a new story, or they're just going to do the same thing again. Sure. Because, this did well, just do it again. But it is a show worth watching, even if out of just curiosity, just watch the first episode. It's got some good stuff there. It's not terrible, unlike some other things. But that actually segues to our first news story, which is going to be Netflix and their plans to end password sharing. Now, we've said this many times on the podcast, or I have. I'm not a massive fan of Netflix and anything they do. I think they are probably one of the worst companies when it comes to making decisions and how they go about certain things, and there's sort of manipulative, stupid actions for the most part. And this was kind of foretold last year, and we kind of touched upon it, where in recent events of them losing, I think it was roughly about 10 million subscribers, they kind of just decided to erase their animation block and kind of just say that, we're gonna stop people from sharing password because it's hurting us. And so their answer to all this, in response to them losing so many subscribers, is to not invest less into projects that people don't want or don't like, because by God, there are so many things on Netflix that people don't like and have actively screamed at them, we don't want this, we don't like it. Their solution is to act like a paranoid bitch, basically, and essentially police its subscribers by essentially saying, if you don't sign into your account after 31 days, we're going to block you.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, like, let's put it into this context. It's like, hey, it's been 31 days, you better sign into your account, and if we find out you shared your password, we'll block you. How are you going to police people like that?
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's like you want people to live in fear, which is what I take massive issue with. Like this sort of mandate time for something linked to something that's meant to be enjoyment.
Yeah, exactly.
Netflix is linked to people's free time. For people to be then going, checking their calendar, being like, better sign into my account and others are going to block me and I'll be paying for something that I can't watch. Shouldn't be doing that. Like, they're literally shooting themselves in the foot with this. And like, it's very egregious to implement this, which I would say they haven't 100% confirmed this, but it seems like it is all of confirmed for the most part. And like, and this is based on like their failings, and they're just assuming that people will accept this because they're a big name. Like, spoilers, people aren't going to. Because I mean, this is going to affect so many people, because there are those who aren't as informed as us. That not everyone's listening to the podcast, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there's going to be people who they have their password shared with family, friends, relatives. I mean, for example, my auntie has Netflix and she's given it to my grandmother. So when this happens, my grandmother is not going to have Netflix and my auntie's going to get her account blocked, to which she's going to have to travel down from where she is to unblock it or whatever. And that's going to have to keep happening because this is something they just have to keep policing, because they're so terrified about losing money and that, no one can watch anything for free, because Netflix has never heard of the term. I completely forgot the term.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, I guess you could say sharing is caring, or word of mouth is what I was trying to think of. And I mean, what's essentially going to happen is, their account's going to get blocked, and this monthly checkup, along with like the ads that are coming to the platform, are just going to annoy people.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And like, they're going to lose millions of subscribers, or at the very least, they're going to see no growth, as people are just going to switch to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Because it's cheaper, it doesn't have ads, and it's less restrictive.
Yeah.
Like, Disney Plus is cheap. I will give it that. It's like, what, £6 base value? Netflix is expecting you to pay or put down roughly, I can't quite do the calculations right now, an extra £5 if you don't want ads. If not, you're stuffed and you have to watch the ads. And there's no reward system neither, like, oh, watch an ad and you'll get rewarded with points or something. No, there's none of that. And I mean, Disney and other platforms aren't going to follow suit. Like, because your competitors can see that this is a shitty idea. Disney Plus, yeah, as greedy as they may be, they're not going to go, oh, that seems like a good idea. Everyone hates Netflix for that. Let's go do it. And it's just ridiculous that they're going to present this. Like, yes, yeah, everyone needs money. I'm sure the cost of running the site is probably costing them a lot. But at the same time, all I have to say is don't invest in things like Cowboy Bebop. Things that no one asked for. No one was banging on the doors of Netflix studio going, please remake in live action Cowboy Bebop. I love the show to death and I want to see you remake it. No one was doing that. Same thing with the One Piece live action show. Oh, I'm going to talk about this series twice this year. Now and at the end of the year. We're not talking about the trailer. Spoiler alert, guys. We're not doing it. And I will be talking about that series on my worst TV shows of 2023. So that's when you'll hear about it next. But that's going to be the next Cowboy Bebop, because for a show that's coming out this year, you've dropped one poster and no trailers. Doesn't bode well. Doesn't show any confidence you have in this product. And I know you don't have any confidence in it because you looked at the Cowboy Bebop series and you went, we still signed the deal on that. We spent $50 million getting the rights to this and we spent another $70 million making it. It was roughly the same budget as Cowboy Bebop. So, yeah. Any thoughts on this situation, Al?
Yeah, they're stupid for doing this.
Big time.
Very stupid.
Big time.
This. Yeah.
I mean,
people are still gonna do it anyway. I mean,
if you want to learn the hard way, that's fine. Get acquired by Disney, because that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, what? You're going to tout that you have 120 million subscribers. That's going to be at 90 by the end of the year.
Yeah, basically.
Because the uninformed are going to get annoyed with this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I guarantee you the uninformed probably have, like, Hulu and HBO Max and Disney Plus. And they're probably going to go, well, I could probably save another £10.
Yeah, and then just go on to another streaming service.
There's not much on here anyway.
Yeah.
They've got like this One Piece thing and everyone said it's bad.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
going to watch
point?
that.
Yeah.
I might as well save £10. Also, we are in a recession. That's something they might need to consider.
Yeah, exactly. Cost of living's going up as well.
Cost of living's going up. People might want to start cutting things that they don't deem necessary. Especially if one has ads and one doesn't have ads.
Yeah. People are just going to go to the ones that don't have ads.
The point of Netflix was that people were escaping from terrestrial TV having ads.
Yeah.
And you're going to bring them back and just be like, oh, you better accept that. We got some real smart people working at Netflix, don't we? Let's talk about our next trailer in a more positive one. And that is going to be for Hi-Fi Rush, which is a game, or I kind of consider this the little game that could, for the most part, as I love the fact that this game came out of nowhere. Literally no advertisement, no hype, just released on the day. This is the trailer that launched the game, instantly made everyone forget about the internet's favorite punching bag, Forspoken, which is a game that recently came out, which is kind of similar to it, and no one has anything good to say about it. But people have plenty of good things to say about Hi-Fi because it's a game that you play, and it has color, and it respects its audience. Looking at the trailer, this honestly looks beautiful. Like, has like a slightly old, like, game aesthetic vibe to it. Like, it just feels like an older game, but today.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It kind of reminds me of like a Nintendo Wii game.
Yeah,
a bit. Yeah.
To some extent. And that's partly due to its, like, very cel-shaded look. And it really does remind me of Jet Set Radio, one of my favorite games of all time. And I mean, it kind of looks like what the sequel to Jet Set Radio would look like if Sega actually made another Jet Set Radio game, but that's another company that doesn't seem to get it. I love the musical theming in this. Obviously, the main character's using like guitar. He has like his MP3 player in his chest, if I remember correctly, which is a really cute detail. And like, it's rare to see games with that theme and kind of like follow through without it just being like a rhythm game or whatever. Yeah. And like, you know, the last game to kind of do that was another really cool game called No Straight Roads, which I highly recommend everyone looking up. And I mean, given this game's acclaimed success already, because I think everyone who's played this is like, this game is good, which is really nice to see, because this is coming from Tango Studios, who did The Evil Within 1 and 2, and last year, Ghostwire Tokyo.
Cool.
It's like their 4th game, and I guess they've finally got a lot of attention on them. They've, funny enough, taken it away from Forspoken and Square Enix, which I'll get into that in a second. But given its success, this just goes to show that people want original, fun games. They're not interested in interactive experiences with limited playtime.
Exactly.
And the evidence is right there. Forspoken has been reviewed horribly. Hi-Fi has been reviewed positively. You can literally put these games side by side, and one of them will keep you more invested because it's colourful, interesting, and you actually play it, while another one is going to have a, I'm sorry to say this, bitchy character talking all the time. It's silly. Al, any thoughts on Hi-Fi?
You know, it actually really does. When I actually first saw like a couple like seconds of the trailer, it actually kind of just reminds me of like anime, like just a new anime or a game of an anime. Yeah. It would be quite cool actually, as like if they actually did consider.
Maybe that's in the works.
Yeah, that'd be cool if they actually did make an anime out of it. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the game. It looks like it will be quite a lot of fun. But yeah, happy for the people that are looking forward to this game. Yeah.
No, it's out.
Yeah. Oh well, there we go.
It's
out. So
people are enjoying it.
People enjoying it, streaming it, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always nice to see when, because I think the industry is like quite stagnant, where very rarely you get a game that's just so simple and so nice it's actually good. It's usually just a game releases and it's like, oh, you better wait for the patch, or unfortunately a lot of people nowadays use the excuse of, oh, you can't criticize it on that because they'll patch it, which I think is BS.
People can't enjoy games anymore.
No, and I do wonder if Microsoft actually did this, like Shadow released it to spite Sony, because this is where it gets confusing and all names and all that kind of stuff. Bethesda owns Tango Studios, who is in turn owned by Microsoft, and this is an exclusive on the Game Pass and I think it might be on PC as well.
Oh, okay.
Whereas Forspoken is a Sony exclusive made by Square Enix. So I do honestly think that maybe Microsoft was kind of like, hey, don't play that exclusive with the bad writing. Yeah, come play our fun game. Come.
Oh dear.
Which, I mean, here's the thing. Props to them.
Yeah.
I mean,
the game does look good.
The game does look good. People are liking it. It's got a pretty high review. I'm sure it's gonna make a lot of money, probably more than Forspoken. So I can't. I mean, hey man, it is competition. Yeah, it is a business.
True. Yeah.
I mean,
that's what's going.
You know, I do find it funny that some Sony fanboys, or as I heard the one term, Sony ponies, were getting quite.
Sony ponies, oh no.
Yeah, Sony ponies. They were getting quite annoyed about the Hi-Fi trying to disregard it, because they're upset that their exclusive is you know, not that great. But yeah, anything else to add to Hi-Fi before we move away from gaming?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I believe you have the next trailer for us.
All right, so I will be introducing Invincible Season 2. It is indeed a teaser. It's a teaser trailer. So this teaser is set in a diner. And it's centered around Invincible himself and Alan the alien discussing about what should and should not be in burgers. How he was discussing how like the pickles shouldn't be in burgers, and it's the place that Invincible was working at. It's not really a spoiler or anything, but most importantly, the actual return of the following season. What I loved about this trailer itself is that it didn't actually tell us anything about what's going to happen in the season at all, and that's what I loved about it. It's just literally two characters having a discussion, or you know, Alan the alien interviewing Invincible, saying like, "Where have you been, man? Like, it's just a general conversation," and like Invincible saying, you know, well, I've been really busy. I've been like, you know, I've been storyboarding, designing, and like. And I love how it went into the details about like the hard work of what goes into animation itself. And like, I loved how it went into, when it said like voice acting, I loved how it showed a cameo of Steven Yeun himself, who actually voices Invincible. Steven Yeun, if you don't know, he was actually in Sorry to Bother You and that very popular show, and I forgot the name. Is it Walking Dead?
Walking Dead,
Walking Dead. He was in Walking Dead. and it's set to be released out in late 2023. So I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, I love Invincible, so I'm ready.
Good. I mean, perfect trailer. You've pretty much like summed up a lot of the things I love about it. Like, it's an original piece of animation, doesn't spoil anything. It feels natural, like it's engaging, like it just feels like two characters talking. And you know, I do like the fourth wall jokes, like the fact that once again it does go into the fact of all the things and all the elements that go into this animation, almost to kind of almost say to doing it, hey, this is what we've been doing, you know, like we're proud of it, you know, just be patient to some extent. And obviously the, you know, single shot of Steven Yeun giving the thumbs up in the booth is really funny. And I just loved it. I think we need more stuff like this, because
absolutely.
I think Invincible is an incredibly popular series thanks to the series they made, and obviously I think most people know about the meme that does follow towards the end of the series, which I will give Amazon, whoever, props for actually singling out that scene and uploading it, and also referring to it as the meme scene, because they knew that obviously people are just loving this scene and doing their own parodies and referencing it, so they were very smart to do that. The one thing I wanted to mention as well about this trailer is that this trailer was directed by Blucker, and it was animated by Bobby Peel Studios, who were the creators of the Peepadoo Super Fuck Friends series.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so they actually animated this trailer. So you could say that this trailer was made by people who animate porn. And that's not like a joke, it's true. Yeah, if you watch Peepadoo, you would know. But it's kind of cool to see them animating something outside of what they usually do, and also just animate something just so well. Yeah. Because Blucker was the one who directed it, and their studio was the one who did it. And another quick note about that series, if you want to buy season 1 on DVD and Blu-ray, or I think it's just Blu-ray, you can right now. They just uploaded their shop, so you can get the art book and that. But don't buy it until I've got my copy, because I haven't bought my copy yet, okay? So you can't buy it until after this podcast goes up, okay? Just to let people know. Because I'm not about to let that DVD Blu-ray disappear. It's kind of ridiculous that I'm like, I need Super Fuck Friends on Blu-ray. But if you haven't watched that series, please watch it. Make sure you're over 18 though. Final trailer we have to talk about. I know this is one you've been looking forward to, Al.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so it's the Boogeyman himself. So it's an upcoming American horror film directed by Rob Savage, from a screenplay by Scott Beck, Brian Woods, and Mark Heyman, based on the 1973 short story The Boogeyman by Stephen King. The premise of this film is pretty much, we didn't really get much from it, but a teenage girl and a little sister dealing with the trauma of pretty much losing a loved one, and finding themselves to be in the presence of some shadow thing running around, pretty much, and, the Boogeyman. They're trying to warn their father that this, who is grieving as well, to notice that there's a menace causing problems in their house. My thoughts on this film looks absolute garbage. It looks, literally, the thing itself, this threat, looks like a bootleg symbiote, basically. Like the shot with the girl where she has like her moon-shaped lamp and she's like looking to see like what's crawled under her bed. Like, I like the shot where it kind of shows like her holding it and it kind of is like far out, which was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool shot. But the thing itself, it just looks so stupid.
It looks like generic monster.
Yeah, monster. Nothing. Yeah, and like, even the acting as well. It didn't captivate me at all. It just felt like a bit like, oh, okay, yeah.
I'm getting paid to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like, this film ain't gonna do well.
I will say this much. If the film is as subtle as the trailer was at points, then it could be a fun, creepy film. But other than that, there isn't really anything interesting about it. And it's actually kind of shocking that this trailer in this film exists, because it's the most like generic thing ever. Yeah. Like occasionally there's some nice shots, but a lot of those shots can be tracked back to other films. Yeah. Like, for example, when she sees the figure on the ceiling, and that's a horrible like visual, and she flicks on the light and it's gone. You know, Lights Off did that. Hereditary did that. That's a boring shot now. Same thing with when she's under the bed. So many horror films has done the whole cliche of the girl looking under the bed. Yeah. The only real twist was that the monster was still there, because obviously it's the Boogeyman and he's always under the bed.
Bootleg symbiote.
Yeah, bootleg symbiote. Yeah. I mean, could they have not come up with a more interesting name? I know it's based on like a story, but like,
but still, they could have.
That's laughable. It's almost as bad as like the Bye Bye Man, which came out a couple of years ago. Like, yeah, you laugh, But that was a film, and the monster was called the Bye Bye Man.
Oh no!
To which someone parodied it by calling him the Pee Pee Poo Poo Man.
So.
No, you should laugh. That's ridiculous. But that's basically what you're implying when you have a character like that.
Yeah, it's stupid, isn't it? Yeah.
Something a child would say.
Yeah.
But I mean, the trailer kind of annoyed me to some extent because, like, here's one of my big nitpicks. So, if this child is scared of the dark, why not leave the lights on? Like, all those extra night lights, they're going to cost you a fortune in bills. And, like, what? Like, does her bedroom light being on affect the father's sleep or something? Like,
I guess it does.
Oh, I can't sleep knowing my daughter's bedroom light is on.
Yeah.
Or what, can he see her light from his room or something?
Maybe he has some sort of power.
Maybe that's the change they'll make for this adaptation.
Yeah, he's actually the Boogeyman. Plot twist.
Yeah, you could see that to some. I bet you they'll probably add some like subplot where it's like, oh, he is because he beat his wife or something like that. Once again, that's something that has been done in horror films and to varying degrees of success. But yeah, no, I just talked about this trailer so we can just meme on it. Yeah, basically because that's all it is. Same with like the Megan film.
Oh God, yeah, we just don't talk about it.
No, we mentioned it last podcast and yeah. Al, I believe you are going to introduce our discussion for this episode.
Yes, so the discussion is media that we like playing or watching over and over again. So I'll start us off by giving you my first pick, which will be Tekken 3 on PS1. It was one of my childhood games growing up. The game actually had a lot of impact on its fans as well, especially with how the story picked up after Tekken 2, and it literally takes place like 20 years after Tekken 2. And it's set, so Tekken 2 is set in 1989, and then Tekken 3 is actually set in 2009. So it's actually really interesting. It's a really interesting time skip, and actually the music, when you actually listen to the OST, it actually does sound like it actually takes place in 2009. So the music was definitely composed way ahead of its time. The story, the writing in Tekken 3, but Tekken 3, Tekken 4 was the last best was the last best written game in terms of story. But yeah, the story was much better at a time where like they literally cared for every single character besides like the Mishima. Well, unfortunately, like in Tekken 7, like they just kind of revolved the storylines around the Mishimas and not really. They just kind of put every other character on the back burner. They just had like episodes, which kind of just took the fun out of Tekken 7, and a lot of fans would probably agree on this. But I would love to talk about like it's not even just that. It's like, of course, the debut of the Edgelord himself, meaning Jin Kazama. Like he literally with his theme, that a lot of remixes have been made. It came like they did a remix in Tekken 5. They used a remix in Street Fighter vs Tekken, which was a very shit game. But anyway, we leave it there.
Oh man, that game.
Yeah, I remember actually using my pocket money to buy that game.
I think Obsidian bought that game, and he was
I gave him my pocket money to buy it.
Yeah, that was awful. Dear me.
Oh God. But I digress. And all the characters, one thing I did love about this game is that all the characters each have their own OSTs behind their stage. It's not just the OSTs for the stage; it's actually for each character. So every character, every OST actually matches the characteristic. Like I feel like the personality of the character. An example that I would like to use is Ancient Ogre's theme. It starts off like very quiet, and then it gets very menacing as it goes along, and it has it gives it off like a really Aztec feel, as he is like the Aztec god of fighting, and it really displays how evil he is through some of the songs, even the guitars that play in it as well. It just gives off that theme. And it just feels like even though there's a lot of Tekken games, like this installment is always a game that I can always revisit. It always feels like I'm playing a new game every time I revisit, and it could be years down the line that I play it, or it could be I could just put it on now and I feel like this is a new game, and I really enjoy it. And the graphics still hold up very well to this day.
Yeah.
To this day.
Compared to some other games that were on more powerful hardware and kind of having a slightly blockier look, it does still retain a lot of detail, especially for a good example being like Paul Phoenix's like jacket, and still having like the picture on the back of it, which is when you look at it compared to how he looked in 7 and there, you can still make out what is trying to be, which is great.
Exactly. And then my second pick will be, actually, this time I'm going to be talking about a film. So my second pick will be Predator 1987.
Oh, yeah.
All I'm just going to say is get to the chopper, innit? Yeah. This film, I mean, I love this film to this day. It's really well made. Watching it I watched it as a young kid and admired the design of the Predator itself with like I think it looks cooler with its mask on. I mean, it's hideous without its mask.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of the point of it, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. And, the futuristic weaponry it's got, it's really cool. It came out in a more simple time where like there's no CGI effect. It's like CGI effects in preparation with making. Well, actually, it's not. Well, the humans call it the Predator, but it's actually called. I can't actually pronounce the actual species name. But it's Yautja. It's YAUTJA. So I think most people say it's the Yautja. I think that's how you pronounce it. But again, I might be butchering the name. I really love like the part where I really do love the part where it actually reveals itself and it's like slowly takes off its mask. It just shows the intensity of it, and then it just reveals like its hideous face and like you can see like the drool kind of coming off its face. And I feel like even though there's a lot of other Predator films that came out after this, I feel like this depiction of it just looks the most realistic. Even the sequel that came out in 1990, like the face mask just looks really fake in comparison to it. I
have issues with Predator 2. I personally don't believe that film exists. I just refuse to accept its existence.
I don't blame you. And and I feel like actually, and even then, the actual person that is actually the Predator, it's not like it's someone in a suit, and they did the design very well. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much all I have for this discussion.
No, it's one of those films that has and will stand the test of time, and I don't think anything's ever going to
it still holds up to today.
Touch that for the most part, and it's just a fun watch as well, especially for people who haven't seen it for the most part. But there's some good picks. I have three. I'll run through them really quickly. So the first one is going to be a game, and that is going to be New Super Mario Bros. On the DS, released back in 2006.
Gosh, yeah.
And this was a game that I absolutely loved and adored. It's essentially a remake of the very first Mario Bros. Game. And it was such a great remix of that. And it immediately kind of like throws you off guard to some extent, where you play, 1-1, the very first level. And in my opinion, one of the greatest video levels in video game ever made. And, you get to the thingy, you see the Goomba, you hit the mushroom. And then you get hit and you get the Mega Mushroom. And you're like, oh, what's this? You get the Mega Mushroom, you turn into a giant Mario, just smash the whole area if you're fast enough to make it all the way there. And that was such an amazing way for Nintendo to just say, in a more subtle way, yeah, this ain't the one you played before. This is the new version. This is like, we're going to hit you with all these twists. It kind of prepared me to kind of be like, I don't know what's going to happen next. And I love this game. I played it to bits. And it was probably the first game that I actually ended up speedrunning without actually knowing what speedrunning was. It would get to the point where I would play this game over and over again. Like, I would be bored at my grandma's house or whatever, just play the whole game again, like seeing how fast I can go, seeing how skilled I was. And I absolutely love that because it had such a great flow if you really knew every move, every place to go, and all that kind of stuff. There was even one instance where my cousins had the game and we decided, let's have a race. Who can beat New Super Mario Bros. First? And it was just me on one side of the room, like playing the game, my cousin on the other side of the game playing, and I had one of my other cousins kind of bouncing back and between us, kind of, oh, he's much further than this, oh, he's going to do this. It was a great experience. It was a game I absolutely love to bits, and I'm always happy when more people discover it and find out about it. A good example being, like, I think a little while ago, the YouTuber DashyXP, he went back and played that game, and I think it was very funny to have him be one of his statements being like, yo, they should have brought this game back. Like, there's some stuff in this game they never put in other games. And he was kind of like floored by the fact that, yeah, there is that kind of uniqueness to this game that didn't quite translate to the other ones that had the new name to it. The next game I want to talk about is one of my favorite games of all time, and that's going to be Rayman Legends, released back in 2017. It is one of my favorite games. It is in my top 10 favorite games of all time. It is perfect in my opinion. And this is the game that I played religiously from the day it came out for about 4 months. 4 months. It was Rayman Legends every day.
Yep.
Playing those levels over and over again, partly because I wanted to get the final character you can unlock, but just to play it again, play it again, play it again. I love this game. And to get the final rank in the online servers, which is no longer a thing anymore. So you cannot get that trophy/achievement anymore. Making my platinum game that much rarer to some extent. But it's just a really fun game to just go in, play a couple levels, come out, you know, even if it was just like the matter of, even when I was doing the online matches, I'll just play another level again, really like the level, see how fast I can do with this one. Can I go even faster? You know, that kind of stuff. Loved it to bits. It is such a shame that they haven't released another game since. And given the current state of Ubisoft, it doesn't seem like there will be one anytime soon. But it's just an amazing game. And it just kind of had that replay value. And it just, everything about that game just worked so well for the most part. And the final thing I want to talk about is a film. And that is going to be probably the most random film ever. I never talked about this film, but now's the time. And that is going to be Small Soldiers from 1998.
Okay.
Now, this is a film that I had seen. The base premise of it is like this kind of toy and kind of tech military company. Someone decides to put like these high AI chips into these toys and kind of have them be their own things, like kind of their own consciousness to some extent. And madness ensues. We have like two fractions. We have like these more monster fantasy characters and these like soldier type characters, and they're kind of at war. And yeah, like I said, madness ensues, and it kind of just comes a child's film. The reason I watched this film over and over again kind of comes with a bit of a story, and it's a very weird one, and it kind of just goes to show how weird children are to some extent. So I set the scene. It was maybe about 2002, and I was at a friend's house, their birthday party, and I'd previously said to one of my friends, yo, can I borrow a copy? That's how I spoke back then. I said, yo, can I borrow a copy of Small Soldiers? Had it on VHS, and he gave it to me at the party. And he said to me, oh yeah, you know, just give it to me tomorrow, you know, watch it tonight, give it back to him tomorrow. For whatever reason, over the next almost month, I watched that film every single day.
Damn.
Not because I loved the film that much, but something in my consciousness or in my mind said to me, and this is, I've been thinking about this a while, the only feasible reason why I think I did this was because something in me said, you better watch this film as many times as you can, because you never know when you'll never be able to see this film again. I don't know why, but I would watch it every single day with that sense of, oh, I'm going to have to give it back to him. He never asked for it the next day. Hence why I was able to watch it for about a month every single day. Eventually I did give it back to him, of course, but it was just like, I don't know why. Maybe I just kind of assumed that this was like the only copy of it or something, or that, I don't know how films didn't work. I don't know. It was very bizarre. But that's a weird reason why I've watched the film Small Soldiers maybe about 50 times in the course of a month or so. But yeah, I do like that film. I think it's quite cute and charming film for the most part. It's got some questionable scenes in it nowadays, but yeah, it's a really interesting one that I'd recommend. If you've never seen it, you'd either like it or you probably think it's the worst thing. But I think if it has aged poorly, then maybe it's one of those like so bad it's good kind of films.
Oh, okay.
I know Tommy Lee Jones actually voices the main villain in that, the main toy soldier character, which is a perfect casting right there in my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We kind of wanted to talk about this discussion, or do this discussion, because it is February, the month of love, as some people like to call it, although I personally don't believe in Valentine's Day or anything like that. But yeah, we might have another discussion talking about things we love, I guess, for the most part. Yeah. Why not, I guess? But yeah, that's pretty much going to bring us to the video of the episode, which is going to be Yaeji with For Granted. She's back with more music, which is always good to hear from her. She's one of the more interesting and more exciting electronic DJ artists out there right now, and I think this is a pretty interesting track, very experimental, especially towards the end, where she kind of like switches things up. Have you ever heard of Yaeji's music before?
No, when I literally, when you sent me like the synopsis of the actual podcast, I was like, oh, I've never heard this, so I clicked it, and I was just like, oh, okay, I've never seen or heard of this artist before. Not podcast. The music video was actually quite interesting.
Yes.
Actually. Yeah.
Very experimental to some extent, and kind of feels quite personal.
Yeah.
At the same time as well. So we're going to leave you with that. Hopefully you guys will enjoy her and give us some more views and all that, because music's been quite slow right now.
Yes.
Nothing crazy's been released. No big names have dropped anything yet.
No, unfortunately not. But again, it is the start of the year.
Still so just February. So
yeah. So hopefully
we'll see. Off. Anything else you'd like to add to this podcast before we finish things?
No, that's it.
Okay, no worries. It was a short one, but yeah, Al, I want to thank you for being on this episode.
No problem.
And I guess the only thing left to do is to say that, or I guess end this podcast like I always do by saying I was the Angry Raccoon.
I'm the Indigenous Owl.
And we will see you on the next podcast.